Hillary Clinton is getting from Obama much more than just the keys to the Oval Office. She's inheriting the White House's biggest, deepest, darkest secret, one that takes the cake for the betrayal of the century. Forget Benghazi. Forget Obamacare. This is so dark it had to be buried 10,000 feet deep under the Cheyenne Mountain. If she can't get elected, there will be no elections. Under the smokescreen of Ferguson, Baltimore, and other attempts at racial baiting, the liberal elite are preparing something more devastating than anything Americans have ever seen. This disaster will lead to the total destruction of the U.S. economy and more, the destruction of the very fabric of this country and the loss of our most fundamental freedoms. Their agenda is simple. They want to transform America into their socialist utopia, where martial law replaces the Constitution, and they want to set up a police state where Obama and conservatives are being sent to concentration camps, and the liberal socialists rule with an iron fist. You're about to witness chilling evidence that connects Benghazi, the Iran nuclear deal, the coming elections, and the biggest economic and humanitarian disaster this country has ever seen. If you care about your family and you want to see them get through this crisis unscathed, you need to watch this. This is the kind of doomsday scenario that threatens America as our enemies get ready to attack the U.S. with a terrifying weapon of mass destruction. Obama and Hillary are allowing an EMP attack to occur. They could protect our grid for a few $1 billion, but refuse to authorize the funds. And what is the effect of this weapon the U.S. Army is afraid our enemies will unleash upon us, and we are powerless to stop? The answer lies within a special report made available to the public for the first time ever. My name is Nick Guarino. I'm the guy who first exposed the Whitewater scandal that got Bill Clinton impeached. I've spent most of my adult life exposing the Clintons and their great crimes and their great evils. Michael Isikoff, in his book Uncovering Clinton, revealed me as the key source that helped blow the covers off of Clinton's crimes. To say the Clintons hate me would be an understatement. I have been in self-imposed exile for over 20 years, but I can no longer be silent. I am here to warn you that we Americans now face the biggest threat ever to our freedoms, our prosperity, and our way of life. So please listen carefully to what I have to say, because no one else will ever share this with you, and I am not sure how much longer this report will be up. For the first time in modern history, we've got undeniable proof that a large-scale EMP attack on the U.S. infrastructure will happen in the very near future. Senior U.S. military officials warn Russia, North Korea, and Iran have the capacity to launch a devastating sneak attack against the U.S. As you are about to see, the Pentagon is moving back into the EM-proof Cheyenne Mountain complex.
Because of the very nature of the way that Cheyenne Mountain's built, it's EMP hardened. And it wasn't really designed to be that way, but the way it was constructed makes it that way. And so there's a lot of movement to put capability into Cheyenne Mountain and to be able to communicate. Well, it goes to the very nature of an EMP threat, I think, that that capability that we need to be electromagnetic pulse, be able to sustain those sorts of capabilities, our ability to communicate, things of that nature in an EMP environment is important.
Dr. Peter Fry, Executive Director of the Task Force on National and Homeland Security, warned about this. He said our enemies are putting the final touches on a weapon that could succeed in eliminating us as a civilization for over 2 years, an EMP bomb. In a desperate move, the Pentagon recently awarded a $700 million contract to a company whose job will be to relocate NORAD, the Nuclear Command Center, back into the abandoned bunker 10,000 feet inside Cheyenne Mountain. They had to use emergency funds to do this. Obama will not authorize one single penny to protect the U.S. and our infrastructures from the coming EMP attack. You will understand why in a minute. According to the Pentagon and reported in the Wall Street Journal, the reason for the return to this disused hollowed-out mountain is, and I quote, "The enormous bunker in the hollowed-out mountain was built to survive a Cold War-era nuclear conflict. It can also resist an electromagnetic pulse attack, or EMP." The Pentagon went on to say America's military planners recognized the growing threat from an EMP attack by bad actors around the world, in particular North Korea and Iran. Just for the record, Bill Clinton let North Korea get nukes, and Obama let Iran get them too. So what is it about an EMP attack that would make it so devastating? As you may know, an EMP, or an electric magnetic pulse, is a huge discharge of very high voltage energy. It instantly fries all electronics and circuits and electrical devices. It's like a billion lightning strikes hitting everything electrical all at once. As you'll see, our enemies are planning to attack with not just one EMP bomb, but with 4 EMP bombs, all launched at the same time. All 3 countries are suffering under U.S. sanctions, so you can understand their motivation. It's the fact that their economies have been devastated by sanctions. They have the means, EMP weapons of mass electrical destruction, which they possess, and they have the opportunity. Each country has missiles capable of delivering these weapons that will end civilization in the U.S. as we know it. They know their weapons will take out the vast majority of U.S. retaliatory capacity. Once the U.S. is neutralized, 2015 becomes the year America is no longer a superpower. Remember, Obama's always said he no longer regards the U.S.'s role as a superpower, or as he put it, policeman to the world.
America's not the world's policeman. Terrible things happen across the globe, and it is beyond our means to right every wrong.
He wants the U.S. to spend its money to erase what he sees as the social injustice of the past and establish a new world order. And how do they plan to end America's reign as world policeman? It's simple. Allow the EMP attack and leave the U.S. power grid vulnerable. 4 EMP bombs will attack at the same time, off our East Coast, our West Coast, the Gulf of Mexico, and north of Canada. The map below gives you an idea of how devastating this attack will be. The resulting blast will take down the entire power grid of the U.S. and Canada combined, bringing life as we know it to a screeching halt. But this plan is nothing new. We have known about it for years. In fact, EMP weapons were tested during the Cold War. It is a scientific fact. An EMP attack would literally plunge America into a dark age. In 1962, Russia tested a small EMP blast over what is now Kazakhstan. The blast took out the electronics in several major cities located hundreds of miles from the explosion. It knocked out a major 600-mile-long power line that was heavily shielded and buried 3 feet under the surface. But they didn't stop there. While America's leaders and military have been in denial, Russia has spent billions developing its EMP arsenal. The U.S. military now knows the truth and just went public. But Obama refuses to protect the electric grid. For 30 years, the Russians have had their top researchers and scientists perfecting the ultimate weapon, and it's paid off. A report issued by Newt Gingrich and his EMP commission warned that the U.S. would be brought to its knees by just such an EMP attack. As reported by Fox News and U.S. News and World Report, 70 to 90% of the U.S. population would be at risk. Up to 200 Americans could die. But Obama and Hillary do nothing to protect the United States. As a matter of fact, they relish the idea of a devastating attack. It suits their purposes. A scientific advisor at the Russian Academy of Engineering, Yuri Zatsev, warned of Russia's new breakthrough device. He said it has military applications that have no counterpart in the world. These devices, without a doubt, will reduce America to a third world hellhole of misery and suffering. Pentagon officials are scared out of their wits, but without the authorization, there's little they can do. Imagine the devastating effect of 4 high-powered EMP blasts, each 10,000 times more powerful than anything seen before, detonating over America. The worst part? America is totally unprotected. It's been revealed that our missile defense systems face the wrong direction. Obama has refused funds to expand the system. U.S. defense systems, including radars and anti-ballistic missile systems, were set up for an attack from the north, left over from the good old Cold War days when Russia was our only formidable enemy. But an attack from North Korea and or Iran would come from the south, which is totally unprotected and is America's soft underbelly and blind side. We have no defenses from a southern attack. Thank you, Obama. As you can see here, both North Korea and Iran have intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of reaching the U.S. According to the Wall Street Journal, an EMP attack, most likely from the detonation of a nuclear weapon in space, would destroy unprotected military and civilian electronics nationwide, blacking out the electric grid and other critical infrastructure for months or years. The cost of such a catastrophic attack is not difficult to imagine. North Korea has EMP weapons, and because of the Obama sellout, it is estimated Iran will have EMP weapon capacities in less than 6 months. The Pentagon warned about this danger we all face at an April 7th news conference. Here is what NORAD Commander Admiral William Grozny disclosed. NORAD is going back underground. Because of the very nature of the way that Cheyenne Mountain is built, it's EMP hardened. He explained that North Korea now has mobile intercontinental ballistic missiles, the KN-08, armed with nuclear warheads that can strike the U.S. While the KN-08 is inaccurate, it could be used to launch a high-altitude nuclear EMP attack. He is warning about the dreaded and devastating EMP weapons of mass electrical destruction that has the U.S. military really concerned. The new enhanced EMP bombs that Russia designed and developed and has made available to North Korea and Iran will end life as we know it and destroy everything electrical. As the U.S. military just admitted, it's totally unprepared and totally defenseless against these weapons. And what's worse, the critical electrical grid that is essential to our modern society and our food and water distribution systems will perish in an instant. A recent study by the U.S. Department of Energy reveals that even a single EMP bomb will destroy beyond repair over 40% of the entire U.S. power grid. 365 large electrical transformers that are critical to supplying our power grid will fail. The Congressional EMP Commission investigated and found it will take 4 long years of darkness to rebuild the national electric grid. Just enough time for Obama and Hillary to turn America into their socialist dream world, what you will know as hell on earth if you are not prepared. Every one of these transformers that is essential to the distribution of electricity is custom built. They weigh tons. They cost millions of dollars and will take years to replace. And that's in the best of times. Imagine how much longer it will take to replace these fried, massive transformers in times of social and economic upheaval. There are no spares. Obama refused to allow the funds to buy backup transformers. An EMP attack is America's worst nightmare. Our government has known this for more than 50 years. Yet, President Obama has not acted on the EMP Commission draft executive order to protect national infrastructure that is essential to provide for the common defense. Hardening the national electric grid would cost a few $billion, a trivial amount compared with the loss of electricity and the lives following an EMP attack. But Obama refuses to provide the funding, because an EMP attack will provide him and the rest of the liberal elites with the perfect scenario to revoke the Constitution and install a dictatorship in the USA. These EMP secret weapons will do far more damage to America than the biggest nuclear bomb ever made, but without taking any human lives directly. Instead, it will strip you, me, and just about every other American of everything our modern life is based on. And if you are not self-sufficient, all your freedoms. If you don't take these simple steps I've outlined here, you will end up in a FEMA concentration camp for Christians and conservatives. In an instance, all your electricity will be gone. You'll go back to using candles for lighting and wood for heating, and not just for a few days, but for years to come. You'll have to go to the nearest river for water and make your own fires so you can cook. None of your electronics will work. No internet, no smartphones, no TV. Getting food and water from the supermarket will be a distant memory of the good old days. You'll be forced to scavenge for scraps of food. Many will fight over a loaf of bread. People scrounging for food will be arrested and brought to the FEMA concentration camps for Christians and conservatives. They are already set up and waiting. This is the kind of doomsday scenario that threatens America as our enemies get ready to attack the U.S. with EMP weapons of mass electrical destruction. These devices, without a doubt, will reduce America to a third world hellhole of misery and suffering. Help will never come in time. You and your family will be on your own, and you must be prepared to save yourselves. Unfortunately, everything you can find up to now about how to survive an EMP attack is nothing but misinformation and misconceptions. Mass market EMP solutions and equipment will be the first victim of an EMP attack. For instance, all the so-called knowledge you read about EMPs and their impact on electronics was gathered from tests that were done with small-scale EMP weapons. Toys compared to the weapons Russia has invented and now deployed. And that's not all. The U.S. tests on EMPs date back many decades ago, in the era before cell phones or the modern computer. Back then, the transistor wasn't even invented. Neither were integrated circuits. What few computers were around had vacuum tubes. The EMP weapons from the 1960s gave off low voltage. The new EMP weapons give off higher voltage spikes at very specific frequencies. They are tuned to destroy every electrical system and device. The power grid will fail, and every electric circuit and device in the nation will be equivalent of burnt toast. For example, the average car today has 50 computers. None of them is shielded against a high-powered EMP weapon. Here's another way to look at it. You may know that car bumpers are crash tested at 5 miles per hour. The bumpers would work at that speed, but at 60 miles per hour, they get squashed like a bug on a windshield. They offer no protection. Similar with the EMP tests. Various devices and power grids were crash tested for an EMP attack at the equivalent of 5 miles per hour. New EMP weapons will strike at the equivalent of 50,000 miles per hour. You can see why the results of the 5 mile per hour equivalent EMP test are completely meaningless, and fatally so. Most Americans will not be able to save themselves. Newt Gingrich said it best. This EMP catastrophe could end civilization. What you must understand is Obama and Hillary want an EMP attack. That is why they have refused to implement the recommendations of 3 blue ribbon EMP committees. A devastating EMP attack gives them the perfect excuse to declare a national emergency, suspend the Constitution, and open up the FEMA concentration camps for conservatives and Christians. It's a simple plan. Starving people who have no food and water will be taken to emergency shelters, where they will receive food and housing if they work for food and shelter as slaves. These concentration camps are already built. At first, starving people fight to get in. They will be easy to get into the concentration camps. Once there, it will be impossible to get out alive. The bottom line is, with no food, no water, and no electricity, and martial law, most people will be glad to go to the FEMA concentration camps. A starving man will do anything for a potato. But this does not have to happen to you and your family. Here is what you must do to stay free and healthy and well-fed. You can try to live the Amish lifestyle without electricity, refrigeration, cars, and communications. Do you really see yourself hitching up your horse and riding to town? It's not workable. Even the Amish are barely holding on. Their ranks are shrinking, and the way they subsidize their lifestyles by selling off the very valuable land that they've held for over 100 years. You don't have to leave the modern world. Let's face facts. You need electricity, and we can show you to have all the power, food, water you need, and how to keep your home safe and secure, air-conditioned and heated after the EMP attack. The other advice so-called experts usually give in their books and courses is equally bad. For instance, they say solar panels will survive. They won't. They will fry with the rest of the grid and everything connected to them. Batteries, charge controllers, and inverters all will be reduced to smoking rubble in less than a second. They tell you EMP protectors, which are little more than lightning arresters, they want to sell you will protect your home electrical systems. Wrong. In my special report, you'll see actual tests that prove their current solutions are little more than snake oil, a sick joke. Most generators will fail. Their fragile circuits will fail. We will show you what will work and what will not. With the right information, with a little planning, you and your family can survive the EMP attack. You can make sure you stay in the 21st century. We will show you how to have electricity, internet, communications, food, water, security, and most important, all your freedoms. Here's how. I've created a one-of-a-kind program on how to save yourself from an EMP strike. It's called the EMP Survival Course. It's the only real-world guide you'll find on EMP preparedness. Now, we have undeniable proof that our enemies are getting ready to send America back to the Dark Ages. And Obama and Hillary see this as a perfect excuse to make Americans their socialist slaves. My program shows you the secrets for surviving an EMP. It contains system and techniques that only a few high-clearance EMP scientists and military experts know. Let me give you a glimpse of some of the things that the program covers. Cell phones and computers, as we all know, are the first victims of an EMP strike, but it's far, far worse. I'll explain why even your stove, washing machine, microwave oven, water heater, air conditioner, generator, anything electrical will be out of commission. and I'll show you what to do to save them and get them up and running again. We'll show you the alternative systems you can use instead to light, cook, and heat your home after disaster strikes. You'll discover how to assemble a simple device that will shield your electronics from an EMP strike. It does the exact same thing as a $5,000 Faraday cage, simply by using common parts lying around in your kitchen about 20 minutes of your time. You'll see the simple one-call test to see if your Faraday cage will withstand Putin's new EMP weapons. Do this, and your electronics will be in top condition. This will guarantee you start your post-EMP life at the top of the food chain. I'll show you the 5 vital electronics you'll need after an EMP strike. Missing any of these could mean that your family will not have the most essential things like communications, light, and heat. Shocking to most people is the fact that expensive inverter generators are likely to fry. I'll show you which much cheaper generator and which inexpensive spare parts you need to source now if you want to keep the power on in your house. You will learn which $150 in simple electronic components you need to start hoarding. They may be inexpensive now, but they'll save your life after an EMP, and you can trade them for a fortune when your neighbor's $50,000 truck isn't starting. You'll be able to make sure your car still runs, even though EMP fries cars' electronic engine circuits. This is critical. With a working vehicle, you're no longer sitting duck. Just imagine being the only person in your neighborhood who is mobile. We reveal techniques used by Chinese spying agencies during the Tiananmen Square riots that fry all electronic and electrical systems, whether they are switched on or not. It's very similar to an EMP. Most everything electrical you own will be lost unless you follow our scientifically proven techniques. Plus, you'll find out how to keep your appliances running while the entire U.S. power grid is down. There are 3 dirt-cheap ways to make your own energy. Each of them guarantees to keep your electrical devices running. You will learn the secret to living completely off the grid, yet still having an ultra-modern lifestyle, how to keep your TV, internet, iPad, and satellite dish up and running. And I'll show you how to survive an EMP attack and stay in the 21st century. You will learn about cheap and efficient ways to grow, store, and preserve your food, how to make sure you have a constant free supply of fruits, meats, vegetables, and grains. Yes, our simple system gives you an abundant supply of fresh eggs and meats. You will know how to do this even if you live in a suburban or city environment. Here is a clue for your city dwellers: rabbits, quails, bees, and chickens. You will have ongoing sources of nutrient-rich foods from your crops, indoor gardening, and potted fruit trees. All these are simple and cheap to do once you know how. We'll teach you how to find new sources of water, how to recycle safely the water that you already have. This is especially important for you urban preppers. While the masses are fighting in the streets for a loaf of bread, you will be eating like a king. This is the second key to surviving the EMP attack. Let me ask you a question. What is it worth to have electricity when everyone else is looking for candles? How about having unlimited supply of drinking water and food? What if you had the only car in town that starts and runs, the only working computer? What is it worth to be free when people who are unprepared are rounded up on the promise of free food and water at a FEMA emergency shelter? This is not new to me, not by a long shot. I've lived off the grid for over 30 years. I've not had a land phone or hardwire interconnection since 1997. Yet I have never gone even a day without lights, internet access, news, and communications from around the world. Please remember, an EMP attack is like a nationwide blackout, Hurricane Katrina, the 9/11 terrorist attack, and a race riot all rolled into one. All the damage is done in less than a second, and that means while everyone else is in an EMP-opposed dark age for years into the future, you are up and running in minutes. Life for you is back to normal. All you have to do is follow my proven techniques. This program prepares you for the absolute worst-case scenario, not just in case of an EMP attack, but in any type of disaster. You'll learn how to make sure your food, water supply, and electricity are always there for you. You'll have communications in any type of disaster. You will have the power to protect and save your family, even to rebuild your community during the worst times. Food, water, shelter, transportation, communications, security, electricity, you'll have it. You and your loved ones will be well protected when an EMP bomb strikes and other people are turning into savages and rounded up to be slaves of the New World Order. How much is having this kind of information worth to you? Think about all the prepping stuff you spend money on, all your preparations, the food and the water you store, generators and solar panels. All of them will be useless in a matter of minutes after an EMP hits. I spent my entire life acquiring these skills. I have built electrical, cable TV, and internet satellite systems in third world countries. That includes road, food distribution systems, warehouses, and shipping. I lived off the grid for decades, generating my own electricity, producing my own food, living the 5-star prepper lifestyle, and totally anonymous. I condense my real-world knowledge in this program and put it to easy, understand steps you can follow. This program is the perfect solution, not just for an EMP, but for any type of disaster scenario, economic collapse, mass epidemic. The list goes on and on. With this information, you won't have to spend another dime on any other prepping material. I passed my program on to some survival gurus. I let them study it. I told them to take their time and grasp the concepts I put together. And after doing that, I asked them to put a price on the program. Do you know what they said? That if any of the survival gurus would have made this program, they'd have to charge at least $1,000 for it. That's outrageous. I thought, who could possibly afford this? I wasn't going to ask people to spend that much. When I made this program, I made it affordable because this needs to get into the hands as many people as possible. I want you free. This program is not going to cost you $1,000. It's not going to cost you half of that. So here is the deal. As long as this presentation is up, you can get the EMP survival course for only $49. And that means you'll have food, water, electricity, and most important, you'll stay out of Obama's concentration camps for conservatives and Christians and be free. Click the Add to Cart button below to get your video and transcript of the EMP survival course for a one-time price of only $49. I really want you to have this, so I'm going the extra mile here. I'm going to completely eliminate any doubts you may have by throwing in my no questions asked money-back guarantee for 60 days. Here's how it works. Get your copy of the course now. Go through it, and I'm sure you'll be blown away by the materials. Each piece of information will be a new revelation. If you're unhappy in any way, for any reason, simply send me an email the next 60 days, and you will receive a full refund, no questions asked. So click the button below and get your copy of the EMP survival course risk-free for only $49. You'll know not only how to survive an EMP attack, but what to do in a food shortage, a mass pandemic, an economic meltdown, and a violent riots. You'll even know what to do in case the government goes rogue or in case Obama declares martial law. So there you have it. You now know about the superweapon that has the Pentagon sweating bullets and why our desperate, bankrupt enemies want to launch an EMP sneak attack to shift the world's balance of power, and why Obama and Hillary welcome this attack. You know about the irreversible and catastrophic effects such an attack will have on America, our way of life, and you. I want to give you the chance to get yourself ready and your family for all eventualities. It's now up to you. You're the one who has to take the responsibility and protect yourself and the ones you love. Click to the Add to Cart button below. I'll be waiting for you with a special message and a free bonus in the members area.